If you watch the show, you know I'm a lifelong Cubs fan. So I'm always thrilled when we have these kind of guests, but it's particularly cool that we're going to go right now to Arizona and visit with Chicago Cubs ace Jon Lester. He's going to talk to us about spring training, this ball club, Never Quit, his charitable organization that raises money for pediatric cancer research. Jon, thanks for making time, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, I'm not going to geek out, even though I'm a big Cubs fan. I'm just going to ask questions like a professional. Let's start with this one. How you feeling this spring? How are things going so far?
They're going. I mean, kind of spring training right now, just getting into kind of that 5-day rotation and routine that we're getting used to get into the season. And um, I think we got 2, maybe 3 more starts before we start. For real. So it's good. It's going well right now. Kind of down to the nitty gritty here towards the end.
I can remember back in my newspaper writing days when I covered spring training in the Royals, Zach Greinke used to always stress that himself and a lot of other pitchers would just work on whether their fastball, or their cutter, their curveball, that you couldn't really read much into performance of a lot of the guys out there pitching-wise in spring training because they were working on pitches. What's your approach? What's your philosophy? What are you trying to do during spring training?
I think kind of the same thing. For me, it's about fastball command, and then with that comes the other pitches. So really, it's like I said before, kind of getting back into that routine. I got to get my routine figured out and get that hammered home, and make sure we get to the pitches and the innings that we need to go into the season and be ready to go.
What's your read and your thoughts on the Cubs starting rotation this season?
I love our rotation. I've talked about it a couple times. I know we've got the 3 lefties, and then obviously Hughes looked great. So far this spring, he seems comfortable. He seems ready to go. And then obviously you got Kyle doing what he does, year in and year out. So the thing I like about us is we're all different. We're all unique, and we all have kind of our I don't want to say specialties, but we all pitch very different. So it's nice to have 5 guys that don't really attack hitters the same way.
From the lineup to the rotation, big expectations for the Cubs, but that's not unique to your ball club in this division. There's some really good baseball teams you guys are going to be competing against. How much are you paying attention or not in the offseason, in spring training, to what the Cardinals are doing, to what the Brewers are doing, to what folks in division are doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you hear about teams in your division, you pay a little bit more attention to them. I mean, obviously, they all got better. I feel like we got better. You throw you into our rotation, for a full season. That's a huge thing for us. And then we're going to get Brandon back, Morrow, hopefully here in April. We got Descalzo. So, I mean, we did a lot of things, I think small things to make us better. Some of the other teams made a little bit more, I guess, of a splash than we did. But I love where our guys are at. We've been good for 4 years, in a row. So we just got to go out and play the season and compete.
Are you able to look back at last season in the way really in heartbreaking fashion for a really good ball club? It ended that 163rd game and that wild card game. Can that be fuel or something positive for this season, or do you just leave it in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be a positive for us. I mean, I just got done telling somebody before, I think, you had all these young guys that are used to winning 95 games every year and going to the NLCS and winning a World Series. So I think they just thought it was going to be easy, and we show up and we're going to be there. So anytime you get kind of your expectations or I guess kind of swept out from underneath you, guys will come back and be ready to go and have kind of that hunger and that fight that we need throughout this whole 162 game season.
Jon, you're a very accomplished pitcher at the major league level. You've been around for a while. You're a leader. What is your take? What are you hearing from other guys on, I guess, not just this notion, but in a year, this reality of a 3-batter minimum for pitchers?
I don't know. I mean, I think, I guess that's what they want to do. I mean, if that's where MLB thinks they need to go to speed games up, I think that's kind of the whole idea behind things, and then that's where we can go. It's hard to fight some of these rule changes that they're making, and I think we have to give and take at some point. But I mean, it definitely changes the game. It changes how you manage. It changes how the other team gets ready to face you and face your bullpen. So, um, I think it definitely will change the starting pitching aspect. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. If you go out to face, if you start the seventh and give up a hit, if they can come take you out, I don't know how that works. But yeah, the bullpen, it'll definitely change the bullpen. So I don't know if it'll speed the game up, but it definitely changes the whole kind of cat and mouse game.
I mean, baseball's been around for a long time, and for those of us that love the game, and I do, I'm something of a traditionalist with the sport, but I'll ask you, just in a general sense, how much do you want or think the game should change in substantial ways to meet whatever the idea of new fans is, or be modern, or just remain mostly what it's been for a very long time?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of the same way the traditionalist. I think the biggest thing we need to worry about is the product on the field. If you have good products and good teams, the fans will show up and not really be too concerned if it's a 2.5 hour game or a 3.5 hour game. I mean, obviously, as players, and we do this, every day for 7 months, we don't want to sit through a 3.5 hour game. So we're trying to play as fast as we can, and sometimes the game dictates the time, and that's the greatest part about our sport is there's no close to being no shot clocks or no quarters or halves or anything like that. So I think as long as you have products, people will fill the seats and owners will continue to make more money.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather spend 6 hours at Wrigley Field than 3.5, but that is just me. Jon, we've seen in the NBA, we've seen in the NFL the idea of players recruiting other players in free agency on Instagram through text messages. Now, I know Chris Bryant's pretty close with Bryce Harper, so they're buddies. But do you ever get, whether it's Bryce Harper or anyone else, do you ever get involved in just sending random guys notes like, hey, Jon Lester here, let's play together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's happened over the years a couple times, but definitely don't mess with guys that are within their contracts or playing for teams. I think more in free agency. I know when Zoe was trying to sign here, or we were trying to get him to sign here, I answered a couple questions for him. I don't know if that helped him at all, or if that was a deciding factor for him. But yeah, it definitely goes on. I think there's a right and a wrong way to do it. Obviously, when the guy is still under contract with the team, it's obviously a no-no. But when they're in free agency, I think everybody on this team is open to help to get guys to come here.
Harper was linked to a lot of teams, including the Cubs. Obviously, he's a Philly now. Did you engage when he was a free agent in any kind of, hey, man, Wrigley in Chicago, kind of cool, come on over?
No, I think I would imagine during that whole process, if we were involved, I'm sure KB answered more than enough questions or was on him probably daily to sign with us. So I think the buddies probably handled it a little bit more than him calling me.
All right, so you have a campaign, Never Quit, and it's a way to raise money for pediatric cancer research. You have some first-person experience with this disease. Can you tell us about what you're doing and what folks who are watching can do if they want to contribute?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool thing for us. I mean, obviously, I've done it for a while now, and we've raised quite a bit of money for pediatric cancer research. And, it's something that is kind of, obviously, like you said, near and dear to my heart. I've had cancer. I've gone through that whole process, and without organizations like the PCRF that do research, I probably wouldn't be here today. So it's a really cool deal what they do. Like you said, it's called Never Quit. We have a night every year. I think this year it's July 17th at Joe's on Weed in Chicago, and we usually have a country artist that comes out and sings and hangs out. It's a country theme. Have some good food. Get the guys to come out. Carnival type atmosphere, and for us, it's really laid back, but we're obviously all there for a good cause.
Well, my dad is also a cancer survivor, so on behalf of him and so many people, it's great work. Appreciate you, and not just thanks for making time, but as a Cubs fan, I hope you kick the you-know-what out of those Cardinals and those Brewers. Good luck this season, and thanks for being here, man.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.